Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. We're going to start off the show just going straight off the bat, talking about the Golden State Warriors knocking off the Houston Rockets last night. The Rockets climbing back into this series 3-1 down, forcing a Game 7 on Friday night, and now we're here. It was an unbelievable Game 7 last night. The Warriors pulling away late. The play of Buddy Hield and Draymond Green definitely solidified this one for the Golden State Warriors. So major props to them as they move on to face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round. From there, we're going to take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers knocking off the Denver Nuggets in what was another phenomenal game. There was a little bit more of a blowout, but this series was phenomenal from start to finish. Game 1 to through Game 7. We all remember the Game 4 putback dunk from Aaron Gordon. We're going to revisit that. We're going to recap what this series was as a whole, because this truly was one of the best NBA playoff series we've seen in a long time, for years, at least since I would say since 2019. We'll get into that though a little bit later in the show. Um, we're also going to discuss a little bit about Russell Westbrook, first taking out the Los Angeles Clippers, one of his former teams, and now he's going up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that he has a lot of history with. We're gonna revisit that. We're gonna preview that series between the Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder a little bit, and give a little bit of a pre-playoff preview. That Game 1 kicks off later tonight. And to close out the show, we're just going to talk a little bit about the New York Knicks and Boston Celtics. Do the New York Knicks have a chance against the Celtics in this series? How much does Jalen Brunson's injury play in this series? How much does Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum's injuries play in this series? What are the keys for both of these teams? And yeah, do the Knicks really have a chance in this? We'll talk a little bit. We'll preview that series as we go on into the show. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it, and also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. But getting right into it here, we have the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets ousted last night. They were hot going into that Game 7, coming back from 3-1 down, blowing out the Warriors in Game 5 pretty decisively as well in Game 6, pulling away pretty well in the fourth quarter specifically of Game 6. And then, of course, last night, Game 7, it was all the Buddy Hield, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler show. Playoff Jimmy was out and about last night, and nobody could stop him. Plain and simple. Buddy Hield going off for 33 points. Jimmy Butler with 20. Steph Curry as well with another more of a quieter game offensively, it felt like. But once you go back into the box score, he had a great all around game. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, just leading this team pretty much. Putting this team on his back, leading this team to the promised land, being a leader, a great leader in general. He had a phenomenal game. So major props to him as he continues to grow his legacy as a future Hall of Famer. Going 4 of 10 from 3-point range, with the defense, with his injury on his right hand, with his right thumb on a shooting hand, being able to play through that. With players, I wouldn't say that players are intentionally trying to hurt him, but you know what players are trying to do: swiping at the right hand, trying to bump that thumb as much as possible, just trying to make Steph Curry as uncomfortable as possible. That's what Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, and the rest of the Houston Rockets team were looking to do all series long in this one. But yeah, Buddy Hield was the star of the show in this one. Had a first quarter buzzer beater, 12 of 15 from the field, 9 of 11 from 3-point range. He was smoking hot all night long, and he was a big reason why the Warriors were able to shut down that Houston Rockets run in the fourth quarter. But yeah, it was a phenomenal game start to finish. The Warriors closed it out. The Rockets tried to make a push in the second half, late in that second half, but the Warriors experience showed out in this one. I had a feeling that it was going to be the deciding factor in this series. The Rockets had a much better defense than the Warriors. The Warriors had a slightly, I mean, as in terms of a team based, I thought the Warriors were just a little bit better than the Rockets. They were much more top heavy, but the Rockets offense in general was much deeper than the Warriors was off on paper. Um, but yeah, and the Warriors being able to turn around, it was their experience at the end of the day that guided them to this win in Game 7, as well as the series outcome as well. But phenomenal game, start to finish, between these two teams, and now the Warriors look on to face the Minnesota Timberwolves in what will be another marquee matchup, a matchup that even Anthony Edwards has talked about many times before. Trying has been hinting at it, has been saying, I want the Warriors. I've been looking forward to facing this Warriors team. Anthony Edwards will be ready for Steph Curry. And he this Minnesota Timberwolves team is looking to continue their looking to hold their title of legend killers, going through LeBron James this year, going through Nikola Jokic last year, going through Kevin Durant last year. They just continue to shock the odd. They continue to shock the world. Nobody expected them to be many. The Lakers were simply favored to win the NBA championship this year, and to go from that to a first round exit due to this Minnesota Timberwolves team, they're going to be under the microscope in this second round, because is it going to be more, is that going to look more about the Lakers, or is it going to be more about the Minnesota Timberwolves with how well they've played down the stretch in this season? But yeah, it is going to be a classic duel between Anthony Edwards and Steph Curry, and what's going to be an unbelievable matchup in the second round. That series kicks off tomorrow, and I'll have more of a preview of that later on. But yeah, for this series, of course, going back to the first round, it was simply the shooting of the Golden State Warriors that just outweighed the Rockets. The Rockets' offense was much more stagnant through this series. Outside of Game 2, Game 5, outside of Game 2 and Game 5, I'd say. Game 6, I'd say the Warriors kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. They still had a great game. But I thought the Warriors, with their style, specifically with them using what I like to call the hack of Steven Adams, the way they were using the hack-a-shack method on Steven Adams in that second half. Steven Adams going 9 of 16 from the free throw line in Game 6. A crazy stat line. When I tell you, in the fourth quarter, whenever between midway through the third quarter throughout the fourth quarter, anytime Steven Adams touched the ball, even if Steven Adams wasn't touching the ball, when the Rockets got into the bonus, whenever the ball was inbounded, just hack Steven Adams, foul him. That was the Warriors' strategy, and they tried to use it. It did not end up working out for them as they lost this game, but it was a big deal. A big part of that one was the Warriors' offense was simply stagnant. Midway through the fourth quarter, they only held 5 points. Like they were not having a great game offensively, and it proved through and through in that one. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about, outside of Game 2 and Game 5, where the Rockets blew out the Warriors and they shot unbelievably. Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks really led these two offenses. Jalen Green, obviously we know Jalen Green went off for 38 points in Game 2. In Game 5, only having 11 points, but those were 11 big points, especially in the first quarter. He knocked down a couple massive threes that got it going early for the Rockets that really kind of put this game away early on. But yeah, the Warriors offense just simply being the difference in this one. The Rockets defense trying to hold strong, trying to be a difference maker. But in the end, it was always going to be the experience of the Warriors. When the game slows down and you need to go get a bucket, it comes down to your star players. And it came down to Jimmy Butler. It came down to Steph Curry. And on the other side, it came down to Fred VanVleet as well. But you can't do it all by yourself out there. VanVleet did the best he could, finishing with 17 points. Amen Thompson, was the leader of the show last night with 24 points. Alperen Sengun was a massive factor all series long. They were just feeding Alperen Sengun in the first half of this game as well, finishing with 21 points, 14 rebounds. It's going to be, we'll have more to discuss about that part, with that aspect going into the Minnesota Timberwolves series. How is this Golden State Warriors team going to deal with the size of the Minnesota Timberwolves? If Alperen Sengun is going to go off for almost a double-double every single game, what are we to expect when Rudy Gobert shows up to town? What are we to expect when Julius Randle shows up to town? This team, it's going to be the talent versus the grit and grind of the Minnesota Timberwolves. The talent of the Golden State Warriors with their shooting of Steph Curry, the playmaking of Jimmy Butler. Overall, I don't know how this game is going to go. I think it's going to be must watch every game. We'll have a little bit more to talk about that, but with how good the Denver Nuggets Clippers series it was, with how they have the title of best series of the first round, there's a reason that says first round at the end of there, because this Warriors Timberwolves series, buckle up, get your popcorn ready, get your seatbelts in, strap in, get the TV on max volume, because this series is going to be must-watch TV. This series is going to be unbelievable from start to finish. Game 1, I predicted to go 7 games. Whoever wins this series in 7 games, part of me wants to lean with the Timberwolves just because of their size and their offense can match with their defensive tenacity as well. Their offense, they have similar defenses to the Houston Rockets in terms of skill, but I think their offense is levels ahead of the Rockets. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Warriors are going to be able to deal with everything in this series. But yeah, that's it. Warriors win Game 7. They look to face the Timberwolves in Game 1 later tomorrow. Tomorrow night. I'll have more of a preview of that series tomorrow as well. But yeah, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears over to the Clippers-Nuggets series. Obviously, that was the other Game 7 over the weekend. And the Clippers pretty much got dismantled. I'm going to discuss how the Nuggets did it. One player specifically who's been kind of getting on the heated side of things. Not on the heated side of things, but it's been taking a lot of heat throughout the regular season. Took out his former team in the first round. And we'll discuss it later, but we'll go up against his first, a fan favorite will go up against his former team in the second round as well. I don't know what I'm describing. We'll discuss more about that later in the show, but for now, next segment, I'm going to discuss Clippers Nuggets Game 7. Take a short break. This is the host of the GSMC Basketball Podcast. Don't go anywhere.